Cartooney, 183, and sets a blistering new track record. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Heartland Motorsports Park for the GRIDLIFE Finals, the last points round of the 2022 season. This is it. After 10 rounds of competition in 2022, we're wrapping things up in Topeka, Kansas. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined alongside by Greg Creamer. Greg, last track battle sessions of the live stream, last GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race of the season coming up in just over an hour, but we're not quite done yet. A full group of track battle, groups A through D, coverage coming up shortly.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and we have seen track records breaking, and the track has remained quick, even as it's got a bit warmer here, a little bit of sun on the track. We did have a little cloud cover move through fairly recently, and it immediately cooled down a little bit. So I think there's still speed in this track, and we've got some people that, Ferris Kartoumi, I think he's got a sub 130 in him. That's going to be fun to see. He's just got to get it right. He had a spin in the last session when he was starting to go after it. Some other drivers have been putting down some just amazingly fast times. You think of what Andy Hollis did in that last session in the track mod 720S McLaren and dipping into the 138s. That's just superb. And then in Club TR, the top two are literally separated by 100th.
100th. That's Dana Basinski and Grant Davidson.
Yeah,
it's just
amazing.
Unbelievable. There's a championship fight between those two. That'll be a Group B battle that we'll get into a little bit later. But we've got Unlimited coming up here shortly. Then the street mod fight. Jackie Ding leads the way right now. That it's Nick Kors and Michael Omick second and third. Now, I was on track a little while ago with Jason Kanacki. We'll get into that a little later. But we were following Mike Omick onto the front straightaway. Black smoke, then white smoke, and the car stopped running. So,
oh boy,
we'll get an update on Mike Omick as soon as I can get a hold of him. But I don't think that car is going to be running for the rest of the weekend.
Oh, that's a shame.
Which means that Nick Kors would be able to hang on to second in street mod for now, but there's other drivers kind of knocking on the window there. Jason Kanacki in a McLaren 720S, not too far behind, about a second back. So he's still got the potential to get up in the mix. And then Dewey DeWitt in the Impreza is also right next to Kanacki, only about a tenth behind him. So there's still a good fight there just outside the podium spots if someone can go a little quicker than Omick.
Absolutely, and then you've got the ongoing racing that's just so fierce in the Sunday Cup as well. Big field here. I think we counted 12 cars. 12 fits. There's actually more cars. So, I mean, there's a lot yet to unfold here in track battle here at the GRIDLIFE Finals.
All right, so Group A is coming up here shortly again, and let's have a look at our track map here again. 2.5 miles, 14 corners around this facility in Topeka, Kansas. Not a very old racetrack as far as things go here, Greg, but it is certainly unique and has a lot of variety in the corners that you see here at this track.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you've got elevation from the start line up to the top of 1, then it drops down through the exit of 1 through 2, climbs again through 3, and then you've got fast corners, you've got tighter corners, turn 6 and turn 14, hugely critical because you've got runs onto the longest, fastest sections of the track. 8, 9, it's a place where you flow a lot of speed, but one bobble there, you can lose a ton of time. We've seen a lot of guys overshoot 10, not necessarily go off, but just have big slides, big moments, and then you're into 11, 12, 13, and 14, really technical, and you've got to get squared up and onto the straight out of 14 with a good run because it leads, again, onto a long, fast section of track. There are areas where you actually compromise the exits, one where you compromise the entrance to get set up for that. There's lots to be thinking about on this track. It's technical, it's fast, it's flowing, it's really wide, and the way it's paved, you can see the 3 distinct lines. That's probably the only patch I've seen at all, so the grip is consistent everywhere here, Kyle, and for track battle guys, they love that.
They do love that consistent grip around the place. Nice flat curbing. You see the blue and white there? Those are the rumble strips. Flat meaning that there's not a lot of difference in height in those rumble strips. So when you put the tires on them, they're not slamming the car up and down. It's just a nice buzz, a nice rumble, and you can kind of hook the car around on those things and really eat a lot of extra curbing. What that means is the track is effectively 2 feet wider at the apexes and exits, and some of these drivers using every bit of it.
Every bit of it. And the other side, if you do drop a tire behind the curb and get into the grass, for the most part, except those sausage curbs there, for the most part, it's pretty smooth. So if you just straighten the wheel out, let it settle, you can get back on track. yes, your lap time is going to be compromised, but you're not going to hit a big bump and then have the car spin and wreck. So there's a lot about this track and we've heard from a lot of drivers who have said this has quickly become one of their favorite track battle tracks.
It's fast, it's flowing, a little bit of risk versus reward in some sections. And turn 3, love this corner. We talked with Tom O'Gorman earlier and asked what was his favorite corner. This one right here. You're carrying a lot of speed. There's banking, there's camber. You're coming up over the crest. I think we're looking at a little bit different area of the racetrack here, but 3, you're coming uphill in a cambered corner. What a fantastic turn. Leaning on the banking a little bit.
Banked and climbing, so you can really throw it in there. The climb, obviously, that's gravity. That helps you work, and the banking gives you excess grip, and you can attack it just a little bit. The key is when you exit it, you don't want to swing too far out on the exit because you got to quickly transition to turn 4, which is another really surprisingly quick corner that you got to get through, and then hard on the brakes here into turn 5. And then you scoot from 5 up to 6. You get out of there, you got to transition over because this, as we said, a hugely important corner. If you turn in early here, you're going to be slow out. This is definitely a slow in, fast out corner, and that means a late apex so you can get the car straightened up, get to the throttle as you're unwinding the steering wheel to take input out of those front tires and let it go.
Here's Ferris Kartoumi again out of Dallas, Texas. This number 72 Corvette has been at the front and center of every unlimited fight we've had this season. Continues to reset the track record here at Heartland Motorsports Park in the unlimited class. 1:30.964, the best lap that we've seen this weekend of anybody. And for Ferris, as he accelerates up onto the front straightaway, he will take the green flag. We'll see if he's on a hot lap here, if he's still kind of doing one of those half warm-ups. But so far, it looks like he's on it.
Yeah, he's definitely going over. Remember, he had an off coming up over Alpha into 1 here, where he turned in a little early and then skated off of the outside. He saved it, got back on. That time looked really, really good. And, the problem is this is his first time here, and all of yesterday he said, I was just trying to figure the track out. Yeah, he was still quick, but he said I was on old tires trying to figure the track out. Today he was pushing, had that one spin, which is the first time I've ever seen him lose it. I've seen him slide a bit. So he really wants this, and I think he really wants to get beneath 130 and get into the 29s.
Yeah, he's already wrapped up the Unlimited Championship this year, but that doesn't matter. He's going for track records, and he has reset it and continues to reset it. Now out of turn 7 here, over the crest, and towards turn 8 and 9, a fast section that really rewards the big arrow this car has.
And 7 with all that arrow, he's flat through there. This is a little bit different story because you've got to really thread a needle here. Uses a bit of the track there, that dirt we were talking about. And nice line, though, as he exited through 9. Now here's turn 10, which is the one that bites some people. Nice job there. And now gets it turned up and floats it over a little bit. This is that turn 12 that you often will compromise the entry a little bit, which he did to a degree. And this one, you just want to stay right, and get it turned, straighten it out, and put, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 horsepower into play.
A lot. Here we come across the start-finish line. Ferris Kartoumi at a 1:31.623, so about 7/10ths off. We'll see if he keeps at it here. He's been doing multiple laps, and cooling in the past was an issue for this car, but it seems sorted now. Previously, it'd be one and done for Ferris, but right now on for another second hot lap. Hey, Jackie Ding, 1:36.562, pretty close to his best of the weekend, only 2/10ths off. We'll see if he'll improve next time by. Hollis at a 1:40, not quite a pickup for him.
Another big slide at the exit of 3 for Ferris. That time he kept it in check just a little bit. And heading up now into 5, and we'll see if he's still on it, if he decided that slide was going to do something, and I think he's still okay with it. We'll know right here if he just drops the hammer.
Well, Nick Gardner picked up a whole bunch of time into the low 39s now.
Wow.
Canacri has also gone a little quicker by 2/10ths. I rode in that car last session out of the racetrack in an HPD session, Canacri's McLaren 720S. I have never felt a car accelerate over 100 miles an hour. You just get to the 100, and you just, whoa, big wiggle there for Ferris. But you get to 100, and the McLaren's turbo just goes, whoosh, and then you just keep going.
Well, and imagine then what Ferris has in this car with that level of power here, and you saw that wiggle, and that started at 9 and carried almost over the tunnel. So he's definitely giving it a bit of welly here, and let's see what he does for a time.
Needs to beat a 1:30.964 to reset the unlimited track record. Onto the front straightaway now. Across the start-finish line, will Ferris Kartoumi reset the record? 131.275, closer,
Yep.
but still not as fast as his session this morning.
And here is a look at Andy Hollis, who, as we talked about in that session earlier today, he uncorked, I think, an absolutely stunning lap for one of these track mod cars.
He did a 138.995, and he is leading in the track modified class. Brian Blaine in the RX-7, not too far behind. His best time of the weekend is a 141.875, but here's Hollis, again, nearing 160 miles an hour over Alpha into turn one. These cars are just unbelievable. They grip like nothing else. They've got that active aero with that rear wing, but the acceleration, I just can't describe to you. I mean, 40 to 100 like that, and then you get above 100 and it just keeps pulling. 126 or better getting into turn 8 here.
That's incredible pace, no question. And one of the things is, you were talking about that speed up into turn one. It's a blind approach into one, and you'd have to have absolute faith that you've got it in the right spot to make it work then as you make that big commitment, turn into one, then two, I should say, up over Alpha. So it's really important to have placement in these cars. Now he's over in turn 7, which in this car I'm sure was absolute flat chat.
Yeah, and then you get to the exit of 7 and throttle down, carrying over 120 miles an hour into turn 8, jump on the brakes, you feel the weight move and shift forward, downshift, and then you're into 9 on the left-hander. And it's just the amount of speed that you can carry is just unbelievable. One thing interesting that Jason was sharing with me is that you leave this car in automatic mode, and it is so good at picking the right gear at the right time. It also gives you the better dash display.
Okay.
There's a rotating dash assembly in this car that when you go into manual mode, the dash actually rotates towards you, and it's just a strip that just shows your RPM and your speed and your gear, which is really cool.
It is.
But it doesn't show tire pressures and all the other things that the normal dash gives you. So when we were riding, he was in that mode, and it was just, you could have the whole dash, and it was really quick shifting, just unbelievable. And look at Hollis, a 139.669. Not quicker than his best, but still on it, sub 140.
And watch that rear wing on the back of this car. You see it flattens out there as he dips through 1 and 2. Now as he gets up into 3, and there it pops up, and that just gives you a lot more stick at the back. And it's kind of DRS-like.
Yeah, it gives you a stick at the back. It also helps slow you down, like the spoilers on an airplane wing. There's the 241 car rolling through. This is the Skyline that we were chatting about yesterday. Lali Nairi, 1990 Nissan Skyline GTR in track mod. And right now, third in class as it stands. Make that second in class. Best time of a 141.294 previously. And doesn't look like they've gone any quicker that time around. Charles Miller's at the back of this group in that silver Evo. He's made it up into Group A this time around. And Nick Kors, we've seen him trip the timing and scoring once. That's that Turbo Civic in Street Mod that currently runs second in the Street Modified category.
That's impressive. That is impressive. And, one of the things I look at Lali's car here, that Skyline GTR with all that aero, I don't know what kind of horsepower it's putting out, but there have been times when I look at that and I wonder if the aero is so excessive that it's actually creating too much drag for the power. I'll be honest, I don't know the power output. That would be interesting to find out, and we'll try and do that, but still interesting.
There's Charles Miller again in that number 55. It's crazy the progress in our categories here in Grid Life. Charles Miller, again, continues to stay at the forefront of street class, but the progress of this class in the last couple of years, think back to 2015, 2016 Grid Life, we were not going this fast in street class. It just continues to impress me how much speed these drivers can get out of decade-old chassis with all-wheel drive systems from 2005 and 6, and it's amazing. The tire technology, I think, is helping along with that as well, but again, we've seen Miller at the top of many podiums, and here he is fighting for another.
Yeah, he just wheels it. And, of course, it's Joshua Helka in the number 7, the Impreza at a 141.191. That's got best time so far in street. And then Stan Feingold in his Lancer at a 141.5. So yeah, these are street cars, as the name implies. It's street. And they get around here extremely quickly. The cars are capable, but these guys, you're in a street car and you're putting in those kind of times, a lot of that's just on the wheelman.
Yeah, it is. And in the Unlimited battle, we talked about Carlinxis in the 313 Porsche Cayman. Nick Gardner has now solidified himself in second place. That Unlimited battle continues to be very dynamic, but Khartoumi's got that top spot for sure. Gardner, Carlinskis, And now Dussek's kind of getting closer and closer. But that top three, they've got a couple other class cars between them on the overall scoring, but continues to be impressive. Here's a look at Blaine in the number 62, this really rowdy-looking RX-7.
It is. It is. You know, you see it in the paddock, and you can't take your eyes off it because it is absolutely rowdy is a perfect way to look at it here. And it's interesting to me, just real quick, getting back to that street category, that all three of the top cars in street, it's an Impreza or a Lancer.
Yep.
You know, they just work in this category, don't they?
It's the classic battle, right? We actually joked on, I think it was back at Autobahn in the Twitch chat, you know, what's your favorite? Do you pick the Evo? Do you pick the WRX? You know, that kind of thing. And it just seems like, you know, those two cars, they battle back and forth for decades. The Japanese all-wheel drive cars, they continue even later, decades later, fighting in GRIDLIFE track battle head-to-head. And what really is the best car? Who knows?
Yeah.
They're also driven really well.
They're driven very well. But, you know, they make just immense power and grip. That's clear because they're up there not far off the times of track mod and unlimited cars. So it tells you just how good they are.
Yeah, Carl Linksys comes across the line there, and no improvement. 39.818. I don't think. No, he's about 0.8 off his best at a 39 flat. So no pickup that time through. We have not seen a lap time from Coors this time around.
We haven't.
We saw that car pull off on the backstretch earlier in the previous session. But it looks like he's trying to get back on track. Looks like Dalton Klein picked up a little bit in the session, a 144.298 for Klein, and still off of his best.
It's going to be difficult, I think, in this session for drivers and cars that have been pushing the limit already to find a lot of time, just because it is a bit warmer out and the sun's been beating down on the track for a while. And so I think that'll be difficult. For the drivers that maybe weren't near the limit for whatever reason, had a car issue or are still working on learning the track like Ferris, those kind of things, those are the guys that we might see some gains out of.
Well, here's Jason Kanakry in the 106, who's found a gain in this 720S. I rode in this car a session ago. Holy cow, it's so fast. It is just unbelievable. And I love taking rides in people's cars from different categories and different classes to really get context for how their cars are handling it, what power level, what kind of grip level are we working with. At the end of the day, the lateral grip afforded by this car is not as significant as cars with massive rear wings and huge splitters and things of the sort, but up on the straightaway, this thing will just absolutely out-accelerate anything else here. Big lateral slide there through turn 5.
Yep.
Again, struggling with the rear grip, and that was one thing that he was telling me that was a fight. The other thing this car does, it just drinks fuel. When we went out, we did about 2 laps. They have a percentage fuel in that car, 39% to 14% in 2 laps. It's not exactly a candidate for best fuel mileage in class.
Yeah, no, but it goes really well. And the other side of it is here, when you think about those cars, look at that compared to a Ferris or that Mazda or the Skyline with those massive wings. Well, those massive wings make downforce, but they also make a lot of drag. And those McLarens is about as slippery as it gets. So you've got that one rear thing that pops up. You've got some trim tabs on the front. It does manage air a little bit under the car, but they're very slippery. So straight line, they're just magic.
156 when I was riding into turn 1, and that's similar to what we heard Andy Hollis say. Just so fast. So Kanakry picks up a little bit of time in this session in the street mod fight. And in terms of how it's gone for him this weekend in street mod, still behind Amick and Coors in that fight, but knocking on the door of a podium here. But I think he's going to run out of time, at least today. There is some sessions tomorrow. The championships are getting essentially wrapped up for those that have already locked in their championships. But for the weekend, there is some track battle tomorrow, so you have to follow along. No live stream on Sunday, so racehero.io for live timing tomorrow to keep an eye on this third-place battle between Kanakry and Amick in Street Modified.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I mean, that was Kanakry's personal best on that last lap. He took 0.2 off of what he had set previously. Yeah, it's a little off of the outright street mod fast time right now. But in these conditions, to be setting personal best when you've been pushing the envelope already, that's not too shabby.
It's not shabby at all. There's Dalton Klein still getting after it a little bit here. Maybe it might be cooling down at this stage. Charles Miller behind him. And they're wrapping things up here. Klein's best lap this session, a 43.761, about half a second off of his best on the weekend. He will head to pit lane, so will Charles Miller and the rest of the field here. I think Halka's coming in. Now, Halka's best this session, a 41.4. Best of the day or of the weekend, a 41.1. So a little bit off for the number 7, but still leading, I wouldn't say comfortably, but leading in street class as it stands.
Yeah, that 141.1 versus a 141.5. So comfortable, no. But at this stage, it's going to be tough to improve that much. And so I'm sure he's well pleased with his effort at this point. It looks like pretty much everybody's coming in. So Khartoumi, after he gave it everything he could, and car just seemed a little loose.
Yeah, I think Khartoumi's going to go back to his paddock spot and set an alarm for 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. I think he's going to get ready to use the cool temperatures of Sunday morning action here at Heartland Park and try to go for that track record again. So Track Battle A is concluding. There is a good look at your Track Battle B false grid here at Heartland Motorsports Park. At the pointy end of that is Dana Basinski and Grant Davidson, and we were talking before the show here, Greg, about how close it is. It is 100th between Basinski and Davidson. It is so close. Remember that Davidson is leading Basinski in the championship as we have a look at our results here for Group A, but Davidson is behind Basinski in the weekend championship, so we'll keep an eye on that. But there's a look. How about Nick Gardner? Really good runs this weekend. Likely new tires. He's running Hoosier R7s. I think R7s on that car. And there's a good look at the rest of the order. Charles Miller logging a 144.3. Coors, the Not Fast group, and Brad Riemann did not get lap times in that session. I don't think the 28 was supposed to be out there, though.
Ah, okay.
So maybe they rolled down pit lane and tripped the transponder, but I didn't see them on track.
Yeah, nor did I.
So Group A is complete. Moving on to Group B. So other cars to keep an eye on. We mentioned the Club TR battle. That'll be the fun one right at the start. Street GT, we have some fighters in the mix here at the pointy end. It looks like Kyle Magnuson. Kyle Magnuson in the 570. That's a Porsche Cayman. Then Nicholas Hendricks in a Corvette is just 2/10 behind. And I think that's all the Street GT category cars in Group B. The rest are in, they're down the order a little bit. Oh, that's Group C that we'll be seeing the rest of the Street GT field in. And a couple more track mod and street competitors to talk about as well, including Mike Coons and Derek Muse in their Impreza and Z's respectively. So that's what's coming to look forward to here in Group B. Now, the Club TR fight. We talked about it a lot this weekend. We talked about it a lot this season. But Dana and Grant, while at times it can get aggressively, what's the word I want to use? Aggressively, man. I'm thinking of a word, Greg, and I can't think of it. I'm having another, what'd you call it earlier?
Nomenclature failure.
Nomenclature failure. Wow, I'm really struggling.
What are you trying to, where are you going with it?
I don't even know how to describe it to you, Greg. I'm just having a day right now.
They're just
passionate.
They're
aggressively passionate about their sport,
yes,
and about their class and how the rules should be and how the rules are and how the interpretation of the rules. And I think Falcon Club TR, this is one of GridLife's self-built classes. You look down the list, and actually, Eric, if you're on the back end here, if you could pull up my class descriptor on the right side of the screen, I'd love to kind of explain really quick some of the classes. Here we go. Thanks, Eric. We've got Super Unlimited, Unlimited, Track Mod, Street GT, Street, Falcon Club TR, and Sunday Cup. 3 of these classes, those are going to be Sunday Cup, Club TR, and Street GT. These are classes that GridLife built from the ground up. Street Mod, Track Mod, Unlimited, and Super Unlimited, those are really either catch-all classes or classes that were built to kind of capture cars from the other rule sets that we've seen in time attack championships around the world and the country. So Street GT, Club TR, and Sunday Cup, self-built classes, and you look at the classes that are the easiest to get into and the most competitive. You're looking at Sunday Cup and then Club TR and Street GT for competition purposes. I mean, Club TR, 20 car fields at some of the event we've been at this year. Sunday Cup, 15 to 20 car fields. Street GT, smaller fields, but fierce competition.
Yes.
Every single event. Big V8s, Supras, all those kind of fall into Street GT. But GridLife's self-built classes have really become very popular here as we continue into 2023.
Well, they have, and that's what is exciting. And obviously, the Sunday Cup is the the entry level for many because it's the most reasonably priced. But here's a little thing about Track TR, or I mean Club TR. Keep in mind that Tom O'Gorman's pole that he set, the track record, I think would have had him, what, 6th in Group A? So those cars, they can get it done. There's no question about it with good drivers behind the wheel, and that's the whole idea. Yeah, they're creative cars, but they're not huge money for great levels of performance.
Yeah, the cool thing about Club TR is there's a lot of classes that you can't swap engines into. Street GT is one of those.
Right.
Not a lot of modifications allowed there. Same thing with Sunday Cup, but Club TR, you can do engine swaps. You can't have modified internals of the engine, but you can transplant a stock motor from one car and drop it into another. And that's what Dana Basinski has done. Grant Davidson is running a front-wheel drive combination car in that Integra to Dana's rear-wheel drive BRZ. And again, I think Club TR has been likened to GLTC in rough pace. The rule sets are fairly different, but
yep.
as Dana's car sits, all that car needs is a roll cage, and it's basically ready for GLTC, which he has said is an eventual goal of his to run in GridLife Touring Cup. So it's cool because you can build a car for Club TR, and depending on how you build it, you can end up being very easily able to swap into our wheel-to-wheel class GLTC.
Here's a question for you. If you're in a like street or street GT, if you put a roll cage in, does that put you into a different category, or is that okay because it's a safety item?
Generally, the rule sets come down to, you know, in Street GT's case, in Street Modified's case, you can't remove certain interior pieces. You gotta have to have heat and AC and all that stuff if the car came with it. Here's the exception. If you put safety features in, you may remove components where the safety gear would not otherwise be able to be installed.
Okay,
So it's generally, you know, in some of the classes, roll cages would disallow you. I think Street GT is one of them. But the goal is, and Adam is slowly working up the regulations to require more safety features in cars because, you know, I think in Street Modified, for example, I rode in that 720S, 700 horsepower and regular seatbelts. I think there is a good push from Adam Jabay and from GridLife to require harnesses, require Hans devices, and really push the safety features as far as we can reasonably without creating a huge barrier to entry for all of our classes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, a car of that performance having a 6-point harness, to me, that's just sensible.
Yep.
And, you know, there is the argument, well, you put a roll cage into a car, it can stiffen the chassis up a little bit.
And in the McLaren's case, it like kind of has one built into it,
yeah.
which is not the case for a lot of cars. Ferris Khartoumi for a long time didn't have a cage and eventually put one in because they're like, all right, this car's doing 180 on the straights.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that this thing is safe. And
yep.
we've seen that come into effect. Unfortunately for Will I Young, back in 2019 at Road America, had an unlimited car that had a cage and had a parts failure and went drivers left into the wall nose on at turn 1 at Road America. So it is not fun, but
nope.
we don't like to talk about it, but that's the reality of motorsports. It's dangerous. You always got to push the safety. Here comes Basinski, though, across the line. No pickup. Again, he's just been fighting this 144, trying to get back to where he ran his 43-4.
And, you know, again, you know, we've been talking about Basinski and Davison, one, because of how close their battle is at the front, two, because they're the championship contenders. But Evan Weider has been a solid third in that class, and his Civic at a 144.7. In the last session, Mario Moroni in his Civic got to within about a half second, really, of Weider. So that battle is still on for third on the weekend here. And you know that they're going to be pushing it right off the bat. Weider goes to 46 flat in this one. Bit off, obviously, first lap. But look at Moroni on his first lap. He's within 0.3 now. Yep. So we'll see how that plays out.
See if they get quicker throughout the session as well. Oglesby to the top of the board. His best time previously was a 145 flat, so a 44.1 is a big pickup for that track modified competitor in the BMW 135.
How about this? We've been talking about him all week. And Brent Sneekloth, his previous best was a 46.3 on his first lap. He goes a 46.1.
Really
so
quick.
He continues to chip away and find speed out there.
And battling Mike Coons in the Subaru, the 310 car. Only 600ths between them right now as far as it goes. Has Coons run quicker at 44.5? He has, but at the moment in the session, very, very close on pace. Fez Bauer is on track, so is Peter Granberg in the 511 numbered blue BRZ with the K-swap from K-Power Industries. He's on course right now, down the order a little bit at a 47.6. We haven't seen Peter really been up in the mix in that BRZ this weekend. It was on, I believe he was on podium back at Alpine Horizon. He was on podium at Midwest Festival, but this track hasn't really played to his car's strengths.
And, you know, obviously, I've said it before, the old horses for courses thing is that there are times when your car is going to be absolutely perfect for a track and times when it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. And sometimes it just comes down to gearing. You know, if you find yourself in key launch points, like coming through 14 or out of 6, for instance, if you're kind of in between usable gears, that's going to really, handcuff you a bit.
Well, and the other thing is the 511 car, Peter Granberg, that car is fundamentally pretty similar to that of Dana Basinski, but it's all the nuance that gains you time here. Again, anyone can throw a motor in the car with help with their buddies and build the same car, but how you set it up and how you tweak it, again, for Granberg, it's much newer to him, this configuration, than it is to Dana Basinski. Peter's still learning along the way, learning the car, learning how the engine responds, tuning things and getting it really dialed in. That'll take some time. And then on top of that, you've got more to fight in terms of the on-track and finding pace at a track you've never been to. Look at Grant Davidson, top of the board, but not an improvement on his best time. He's only off it by 0.2 though.
Yeah, 43.4 best and a 43. Yeah, exactly. Really close. And Oglesby having a good early run here in his track mod. I think that's the BMW 135.
Yep, that's right.
And he had a 45.0, and he is at a 44.1. So personal improvement, big chunk there.
44.4 for Jerry Liu. That's a pickup for the street modified Supra, as Fez Bobber motioning over to Mike Cohn on pit lane to see if they can have a chat real quick. Here's Dana Basinski across the line, maybe starting another flyer here potentially. Took a moment to cool off and go for another one.
You can see that little bump. Ooh, little wiggle there. Yep. But that bump, when you cross that drag strip, you've got to have the car straight, so it just soaks it up. If you've got much load into the car at all, it's going to make it skate a little bit. And you can see he's right on the edge of adhesion, but there's no big lurid slides. The back end isn't trying to step out. It's just that little flat slide. You just keep the hammer down and go. He really is running right at the edge of what the car and the track is giving him right now.
He's got some traffic ahead of him. Corey Ross in track modified. Looks like Dana, I'm not sure if he's bailed or if that BMW is just really fast on the straightaway. It's hard to tell. Looks like Dana still might be on it here over the exit of turn 7. Now into turn 8 and 9, there's Corey giving the point by, and by goes Dana at speed into the fast left-right chicane here.
Really just rolling great speed through here. Now up into turn 10, and we said it many times, this has been the point where drivers, if they over-attack it a little bit, you see the car slide. He really had that absolutely in control. And that's what I'm talking about giving up the exit or the entrance to 12. He just went right through 11 and carried all that speed. Didn't worry about turn 12, ran it all the way out. Then you brake, rotate the car, and you've just carried your max speed a little bit longer than you would if you tried to do a normal transition. That makes up big time.
Across the line for Dana Basinski. Can he go quicker than his best of the weekend at a 43.4? No pickup that time for Dana. I remember Autobahn a couple months ago back in June. The car looked like it was doing all the wrong things. The front bumper was starting to flap and fall off. He comes through turn 15 at Autobahn, completely crossed over sideways, comes across the line, track record, fastest lap of the weekend, wins the weekend all in one go. It was really cool to watch.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Here's a look now at Davison. And again, see what he's going to be able to put up. A 43.6, his best time thus far.
And that's only 0.2 off his best of the weekend.
Yeah,
so he's so close. If he could just nip 0.2 off that, he would really be in contention for the weekend trophy as well as the season trophy if he can complete the weekend in the position he's currently in.
Now, it's going to be fascinating to follow his progress here on this lap. And getting out of that. Ooh.
Is that Bertulis off track a little bit?
Looks like it might be, yeah.
Just went to the top of the board last time around and then off the course following. It was a pickup for Bertulis, I believe. 42.9 that time through, 43.5 previously, so found some time. Here's Grant now through turn 8.
Watch him now.
Again, this car is so well set up. Front drive, you know, I think at times it can be a disadvantage and others it can be an advantage. But I think Grant has got great neutrality in this car. He turns in for turn 10.
Really, that was excellent how his placement as he came through 10 to set him up and just keep that speed alive. Obviously, you get rid of a little speed into 10, but you're still going really quickly. And what that means is you cover a lot more distance, obviously, at speed, right? So you want to keep your speed up as long as you can. And if you're into a throwaway corner, as they call it, like 12, don't worry about your entrance. Carry all that speed. And that improved? No.
No pickup for Davidson that time, so he will remain second in Falcon Club TR. Although he is a little quicker than Masinski in this session, but pay no mind to that. Both of those drivers have faster laps on the weekend. Here's Bertulis. Just went faster than his personal best.
Dipped into the 42s.
42.9. This is not a lightweight car. This is a pretty big, heavy Lexus RCF. Great looking car. And I'm sure dynamically on the limit, it's, you know, probably trends towards understeer, but with just one blip of the throttle, that V8 will spin up those rear tires pretty darn quick.
Yep. Power-induced rotation.
Yeah, symphony of cylinders. Ground pounding the acceleration for that Lexus RCF, but everyone else still trying to find some ways around here. Other drivers we should mention, Marone not really as close to Weeder this time through, 46.3.
A little off there, yeah.
As you watch Bertulis now go by Davidson, who's cooling down on the backstretch. Is that a piece of debris or is that a patch?
I think it's a patch. Okay. That caught me out too.
I don't remember seeing that. That's all. That's
a good point.
I feel like I would have seen that earlier.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah, absolutely.
Turn 10 for Bertulis. You see he's actually got the gussets connecting the roll cage to the body of the car. This car's got some good safety features in it. He's probably running a Hans device as well, which is always good to see. Into turn 13 now, the right-hander. Little off apex there, but I'm sure this car is not going to behave very nicely in very slow speed direction changing corners.
And that Hans device, or I can't remember the name of the other version, which is the straps.
The Simpson thing? Yeah. The hybrid, whatever they call it.
Yeah, I don't care what you're driving, if you get in onto a track and you're in any kind of a competition, you really need to have one of those.
Yeah.
That's the biggest safety development in decades, because it keeps your head steady regardless of what happens around you, and that's pretty important.
Yeah, certainly. Across the line for Corey Ross, no pickup that time. I don't think Ross has found quite the pace in this session. His best time previously was about 10 seconds faster, so might just be testing some things out, though. Checkered flag waving here. Peter Granberg under the tower. So goes James King in the 73, and that will bring a conclusion to Track Battle Group B, and that will wrap up our second of 4 Track Battle sessions here. Somebody tracking way out to the wall there.
Seriously.
Section of pavement at the exit of 14. That is fair game here as far as track limits are concerned as we have a look at our results. Somebody just jumped up a spot there as we pulled that up on screen. I think it might have been Mike Coons in the 310.
Right, yeah, 44.29.
I think he's gone a little quicker at times. Mike Coons 44.5. No, that was quicker.
Yeah.
For Coons, good lap there. As Evan Weeder 11th overall in the session at a 46 flat. Schneekloff, Granberg, Trey Tyler, Mario Marone, and more. Matt Thompson in the track modified Mustang at a 150.2. And Fez Bobber down the order. Now Fez definitely not feeling something right in that car. Came down to pit lane and off pace by quite a bit in this run.
Yeah, I mean, his best time was a 46.7, so yeah, there's obviously something amiss. And recognized it, caught it, pitted, and said, yep, we're good.
So Track Battle B comes to a close. In just a couple minutes, we'll go to Group C, and then we'll finish things off with one last look at our Sunday Cup field for 2022. And Matt Williams, who has been the pointy end of Sunday Cup basically forever. Matt Williams is not here this weekend. He has basically maxed out his points. He's done all that he can do. Couldn't make it this weekend, so the battle is elsewhere. But again, we've got a good fight, and those cars always go out in a group, and it's always fun to watch. But Group C, we've got a couple of cars, Luke Records to keep an eye on. Alex Lundeen in that Mazda Speed 3, a really unique car. We don't see a lot of those around. Jeff Weston Street, we've talked about. Shane Potza, Drew Turner in Club TR, Foster Johnson in Club TR, then Tom Halka, father of Josh, in the street category, Alex Moss and more, including Not Fast Motorsports and Piero Pucci in the 510 FRS. They will head on the racetrack here shortly and get up to speed.
And what a perfect name for somebody that's in a competitive category where it's all about track records. To have a name like Luke Records.
Yeah, that's a pretty good name.
That's pretty apropos, as they say.
All right, so just a brief moment of quiet here as we get set for Track Battle Group C. Again, if you're watching on Twitch, make sure you follow us there. Lots more Twitch content coming in 2023. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on the highlight reel from this event next week. And then if you're on Facebook, make sure you like the page and head on over to YouTube and Twitch and do the previous things I mentioned. Make sure that you're tuned in for 2023. Schedule coming soon. In the next couple of weeks, I would say safely in the next month, you'll see a pretty good idea of where we're going in 2023, along with some announced rules changes coming in Track Battle and potentially in GLTC as well. I don't think anything major to report for the Touring Cup side, but in Track Battle, we could see some shifts and some shuffles. And then also format-wise, we will see a change next season. I can't get too deep into detail about that, but man, Greg, I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. And you were kind of describing it to me a little bit. I was fighting off a dumb-looking grin. 'Cause it's going to be really, really cool. So good news coming, that's for sure.
I would say so.
The hits just keep on coming with GRIDLIFE, is what we're saying.
Every year, I mean, I've been here since the fall of 2020, and it's just amazing how much has happened since then. I feel like I've been here forever. I just came up on 2 years working here, and boy, I've been around in the paddock for a little longer than that, but it's just things happen really quick around here, and you got to keep up with it the best you can. The live stream is a great part of it, and
yes, it is.
And we got to go through the whole list of thanks before we clock out here at the end of the day. Because in just about an hour, we're wrapping up our competition on stream for 2022, and in about 2 hours, we're going to have our post-event celebrations with our podium celebrations for the Track Battle Championships that are wrapped up, and then for GLTC as well. In theory, as long as that race goes nice and clean, we don't have any investigations to worry about, and we can wrap things up and get onto the podium.
Well, that's going to be great. And I'll tell you, when I was announcing Tom O'Gorman in World Challenge, and he started his relationship with GRIDLIFE, and it was on his car, and he would talk about the GRIDLIFE events and everything. And he was so enthusiastic about it, and I was, curious and was trying to figure out, okay, I've got to get to one of these. Then I had the opportunity when you had a conflict and had me come in and do Mid-Ohio, and I got to not just see it, but to be a part of it and everything. And I immediately recognized, you know what, this is something unique and very special, and it has just continued and improved at every time I've come out, and that's great to see. And just the entire concept of inclusion, and when you make it with those music festivals, and you're taking people that they might have a passing interest in cars, they love their music, they come out. When I went to Gingerman this year for the first festival, what blew me away was a huge crowd, and a lot of them were ostensibly there for the music. But there wasn't music during the day. It was racing. And all of them just piled in and were just fascinated by watching the cars. And, in that group, you probably introduced a few thousand people to just how exciting motorsports could be. And that's the future.
It is the future. And you look at those people that are roaming around, and you look at the paddock of drivers that are here, generally younger,
yep,
and certainly more diverse in many metrics, and which is great because the future of motorsport relies on people being interested in cars. And hate to get all doom and gloom, but let's be honest. Cars are going to continue to get further away from us as drivers as they get the safety improves, and we continue to put things towards electricity, which is a great thing in many ways, but the sound of motorsport, the tactile sensations of it, yep, showing up to it, all that stuff. We need to keep young people interested. And I think it's a little bit rare to have someone come into motorsports at 40, 50, 60 years old. It's something that you learn about when you're young. You play with your Matchbox cars on the floor, and as you get older, you start collecting car models, and then your dad's got a cool car in the garage, and then you go to a race. And for me, it was Watkins Glen 2007 and went to a NASCAR race, and that just fundamentally changed my life forever. I never really knew what was going on, went to a NASCAR race, and it changed everything.
Well, and it's that visceral experience, and you're right. You don't necessarily see a lot of people that become devout, passionate fans from watching it on TV or reading about it. It's being at the track and hearing that car go by and having the hair on your arms and the back of your neck stand up and go, my, that is amazing. That's it. And so you want to have that. And, yeah, as obviously things are going to evolve toward more electric vehicles and all, and it has to.
Yeah, of course.
There's no question about it. But this country, we talked about it earlier, this is a car culture country, right? And so where can, as more and more road cars become electrified, which they have to, there's going to be a place where you can get out and either drive or watch cars that make noise and go fast and all of that at these tracks. And, to keep that interest alive, you attract the younger people because, as you said, you get hooked. I remember, you were talking about playing with your Matchbox cars. When I was a little kid, my mom brought home a new rug, and it was, maybe, 4 feet long. And it was kind of an oval shape with different patterns running around.
I'm very familiar with
that. And I looked at it, and in my mind I went, oh, that's going to be a great oval.
Exactly. That's a great racetrack. I did the same thing when I was a kid, and that's how we all get into it, right?
Yeah.
But here's the great thing is as technology continues to improve and we get more and more electric cars at the racetrack, well, they're doing some exciting things in TrackBattle. We don't have any Teslas here this weekend, unfortunately. No Tony Barber, no Jackie Ding bringing his Model 3, but we do see a lot of electric cars in TrackBattle. And next year, Greg, at Lime Rock Park, we announced this. I know you weren't there for this event. Next year at select events to be announced, we are introducing, in cooperation with a couple of the Mountain Pass Performance guys, Model 3 Challenge, which is kind of a mix between wheel-to-wheel racing and HPDE. So basically how this is going to function is these cars will be on the racetrack. Their roll cages will not be required, but otherwise safety gear will be.
Okay.
You're going to go out on the racetrack together after a qualifying session. A race is going to start, but when you get into a certain zone behind the car in front of you, a set car length distance, that driver is required to point you by. Then you will jump in front of them, and then you will repeat, so on and so forth down the line. So it's essentially, you get within a certain range, I got to let that guy by. But I can go back and try to run him back down and pass him back. But it's all point by passing. And it's essentially what the goal here is, to get a dedicated group of people that are willing to then dive in, put roll cages in, and fully commit to wheel-to-wheel racing. So
I think that's a cool idea.
I think the end goal, Greg, is Tesla's racing wheel-to-wheel at GRIDLIFE events. I think that's really where we're headed. We want to be at the forefront of it.
Well, and I think that will be absolutely incredible. And I mean, I've done some Moto America calls this year, and there's one class that they run called Super Hooligan, and they have electric bikes that come out, and the electric bikes for the first few laps are always up in the top 5 because they just are instant on torque and they fly.
Yeah.
Problem is then when they're racing, they're pushing that hard, the battery drains fairly quickly, so they aren't out there for a long time. But when they're out there, they are quick, and so everything's possible.
Yeah.
It's just evolving technology.
So that's 20 years from now to get all that perfected. Well, 20 years ago is Cody Smith's Oldsmobile Cutlass. A little bit of track congestion here at turn number 10 behind Alex Moss. There's a couple of people kind of queuing up here. This is a Club TR car this weekend that Moss will be wheel-to-wheel racing elsewhere in 2023. But he's got a little bit of a stack up. Ernestus Pizzellis behind him, Ian Flavin, and I think behind him in that there's another Z out there in the mix in Group C, and I wonder if that is Ivan Afranichik in the 373. I believe it is. So that group very tight together here. It's going to be tricky to get some racing room there.
And you would think, all right, if I'm in the right spot, am I going to get a nice tow here? Yeah, it's potential, but the problem is for you is you may get the tow, but if you're then much quicker and that guy in front of you is on a flyer as well, he's not going to just move over for you. And so that lap, you may get a tow, and then you might get trapped behind him for a little bit. So it's a little bit of a different deal.
Certainly. There's Alex Moss in that car that he will be racing next season in, I don't know if it's a GRIDLIFE competition car, but testing things out here this weekend. But certainly he would normally be in his Super K, the green S2000. That car, of course, took an impact at Pikes Peak International Raceway after a wheel failure. I'm not sure. It's probably disingenuous that it hit a bump and the wheel broke. I'm not sure the wheel really failed. It wasn't the wheel's fault. I think it was the big bump there. So Alex Moss is in a different car this weekend, just getting on track and still ripping around, testing things out for ASM.
The man's quick behind the wheel.
He's so quick.
No question about it, and knows his stuff. And actually, that first race that I did with you guys, when you couldn't be there, Alex filled in and served as my analyst and did a very commendable job. Just, a deep knowledge of what's going on, and that's everything in an in an analyst role, to be able to look at things and just sort of be able to dissect it a bit.
Yeah, there's the Not Fast Motorsports car on the outside there. I think one of them was hitting pit lane or giving a point by a little timing issue at the moment, so just hang tight until we get the graphics back up on screen. Could be an issue upstairs. We got a lot of wires and cables and things routed all over, so we'll hopefully get that sorted best we can for you, especially before we get Sunday Cup back on track. At the moment, though, as it stands via Race Hero, I can tell you Brandon Hodge in Street GT is the fastest on track at a 46.1. Nick Gerder in the 654 car, and Street is a 147.6. Shane Patza, and here's a good look at the She Breaks He Fixes team car, the 750 Scion FRS. That is back out on track running this weekend. Had a coil pack issue, which is very common on these cars. I'll say, of the mechanical blunders of the first generation BRZ and FRS, one of the not awesome things is the coil packs for the Boxer engine. Very close to the exhaust header. And when that exhaust gets hot, it can cook the electronics in those coil packs. So that is a common thing that was sorted on the 2015 and up generation, but this is a slightly older variant with some newer taillights and headlights, and had that problem kind of rear its ugly head. But that's a common thing, easy to fix.
I just want to jump in and make a note here. Right now, the 89 Brandon Hodge in the GR Supra running in Street GT. His previous best, Kyle, was a 147.7. He's turned to 146.1 in this session. That's a huge gain in the heat of the afternoon. So obviously, either he's figured out something about how to drive it, or they made a change that really dialed the car back up and got it back into the window here as we're watching Jeremy Bailey in his Club TR FRS.
Yes. And it's got a little bit of patchwork of colors on this car, but up onto the front straightaway goes Jeremy Bailey, and trying to pick up some time here.
Just a little bit off of his best time thus far at a 49.3, and Jeremy just coming through at a 150.1, so he's within 0.8 of that best time.
And the trio of S2000s and BRZs heading down into turn one. Prezelis in a 38 car, a little bit of a wobble over the drag strip bump, and heading down towards turn number 3 at the moment.
Another guy who's had a massive gain, the 309 of Tony Starks, and man, he must get some ribbon for that, but I absolutely love it in the TL. He had a 149.4 previously, and that had him about middle of this Group C group. He's now sitting 4th, and he has turned a 147.9. That's a massive jump.
Yeah, Piero Pucci all on track as well. That car in the first session of the weekend on live stream ended up in the wall. That car is repaired and still chasing down his best time of the weekend, which is a 150.6. Foster Johnson has a big pickup to a 149.461. Is it a pickup on his best of the weekend? 140, no, it is not. He's run a 48.6 as his best time so far this weekend.
And here's a gain, and I would call it anything but a big gain. Shane Patza in the number 880. That's a Club TR car, the FRS. He had turned, his best time was a 147.874, and he's turned to 147.868. That's 6 1,000ths quicker. Talk about consistency.
Very consistent, and in different conditions as well.
Yeah.
So really neat as Jeremy Bailey works under the bridge here and heads back towards turn 13. We're 11 minutes into Group C here, so only a lap or two remaining for this group before we head on to Track Battle Group D and Falcon Sunday Cup. If you just joined us, working out a timing issue at the moment, so we'll get the graphics back up as soon as we can. And in the meantime, we're watching Track Battle Group C head under the bridge back onto the front straight here and lay down some times. Bailey, no pickup that time. Tom Halka picks up to a 150.7. His best time previously for Tom Halka was a 149.296, so not quicker for the 700 Subaru.
And Cody Smith, who we just love watching in that old Cutlass, had a 148.3 previously, and he just put together a really good lap and turned himself at a 148.1, so making some improvements as well.
There's Tom Halka in the Subaru. Great looking car. It's got a little patchwork, but you know, we've seen Dewey's car be a patchwork of cars before. Boogeyman, that car is called, and now Dewey's car is certainly much better patched up now with a livery. This one, though, looking a little calico on the back side of the track.
Well, Andy Warhol once painted a car, a Ferrari, an art car at Le Mans, and he painted it to look like a car that was half through a repainting, and it, you know, Bondo colors in it, the whole thing.
Yep.
So, and the car was really quick. You know, what it looks like and how it goes don't necessarily correlate.
That's definitely true, and Dewey showed us that in the past. That thing was really ugly for a long time, and it wasn't any slower in the meantime, but once he decaled it up, it was a little easier to look at. He's going to give me a hard time about that one later if he hears that, but don't tag Dewey at this timestamp. Big slide for Cody Smith, still hunting for faster and faster times. A 148.139 is his best on the weekend, as you mentioned just a moment ago, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, he really is getting after it. And Alex Moss, his previous best was a 149.60, and he too has found a little something and has turned to 149.53 as the checker flag flies. So some personal bests being set here, and obviously, you know, the conditions in theory shouldn't be quite as quick as they were earlier today or yesterday in particular. And that's just a matter of drivers continuing to tweak on the setup and just finding little bits, maybe also in their driving style and making the adjustments and the like. And you know, we've talked about that. Not everybody can win, and so what you want to do is just see that continual personal improvement, and that can come through, you know, getting a better setup on the car, and it can come from just digging a little deeper and finding something in your driving style. And if you're continually just stepping up personally, you know, that's a win unto itself. Then if you're up in podium contention or wins, that's wonderful, of course. But we talk about it. Track battle, really, the goal is everybody's after the perfect lap, knowing they're never going to drive it. But as long as it's continual progress toward that, that's what it's all about.
So on the esports side in iRacing, which is the sim that we use in the off-season, a lot of the Touring Cup and Track Battle drivers run races together, starting really in November. There's the concept of, you know, the optimal lap that there's a graphic for in iRacing, and essentially it stitches together your best 3 sectors and tells you theoretically what you can run. Now the frustration of the optimal lap is that you can never get there, because
exactly.
As soon as you somehow manage to grab an amazing exit out of one sector and get a great entry into the next, you're carrying a little bit more speed and will end up making a mistake at the sector 3, or vice versa. You'll gain a lot on corner entry and then lose it on exit, and there's always going to be a little bit more speed. And it's such a fascinating concept, because take a car like Ferris Khartoumy's. Let's pretend that Ferris is a robot and can do the fastest lap that car can do without any mistakes.
Right.
Now factor in, maybe take it 0.1 miles an hour faster.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the tires don't lose grip instantly. It's kind of a linear transition. So can you operate in a little bit of a slide here, and can you operate in a little bit of a you know, an understeer here? So think about that every moment, every lap. How many places you could gain 1,000th of a second, and then just start stacking those and repeating that over and over and over again. The car's moving like laps in 5 seconds.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I mean, it's just
yeah.
That's what you're chasing, is to get to the physical limit. But no one really knows what that physical limit is. You have to find it yourself.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing, you're talking about chasing that theoretical lap, right? So it pieces together your three best sectors, right? So you improve in one sector, it factors that in, and that theoretical lap now is a little farther away.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So every time you improve in a sector, that theoretical lap becomes a little bit more distant as well. And so you accept that and you go, well, that's just that's the coulda, woulda, shoulda thing. And I just got to go out and do what I can do. And if I find improvement, at some point in each of the sectors, that's what you want to see.
Here's a good look at your Time Attack TrackBattle D group, and this is all the fun stuff, the Sunday Cup cars. We've talked at length about it several times, but again, if you're new to TrackBattle and GRIDLIFE competition, Sunday Cup is one of our self-constructed classes that's designed around cars that are 25-to-1 weight to power ratio. So the goal here is to make a very approachable class that has incredible competition and doesn't require you to be working on your car. And this is true, Greg. Some of the guys will actually laugh at you if you're working on your car during the weekend.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're like, what are you doing under there? It's a Honda. It's fine. And
I love it.
So that's the idea. It's not spec fit. In the past, it was called spec fit.
Yep.
Now it's open to Mazda 2s and Ford Fiestas and B-spec cars that are weight balanced at 25-to-1 with driver. But this is really, in my opinion, the best entry-level category to this sport. Is you get into this with a car you can drive to the racetrack comfortably, go on the racetrack, run every lap in the session without getting hot, running normal oil, and you come off the racetrack, it cools down, you put your mattress in the back seats with the seats folded down, you sleep in the car, use it as your camper, you drive home, then the next week you're using it to go get groceries and take the kids to school. Fits Fiestas, Mazda 2s, Toyota Yaris's, Subaru, olden Subaru Imprezas, like all that stuff is designed to fit right into this category.
It is, and you talk about it. It's great for an intro into track battle competition at a relative budget, and also you could take that car if you decide, you know what, I really want to try road racing. Well, you put a cage in it and you find a series that runs B-spec and you go out and run it there. And again, you can still drive it to the track, race it, drive it home. It's a really exciting class. Now, I got to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
I've been meaning to ask this for a while. Where did the name Sunday Cup, spelled the way it's spelled, come from for this class?
So I think a lot of this stems from video games and Gran Turismo and Forza. And I think Sunday Cup is I can't remember if it's Forza or Gran Turismo. I feel like it's Gran Turismo. But there is a series of races that you do in the game that is like the Sunday competition, but spelled with the E. And I think that's kind of the genesis. Okay. The other part is the kind of the cute nature of these cars. And there's the ice cream analog there. Yeah. And so the blend of those two things, that name is stuck. Of course, definitely not just Sunday. We race these things all days of the week. But it is stuck with us, and I'm really excited to be a part of it next year as well in the non-streamed events. I've got a Ford Fiesta that I'll be piloting next season, so I'm really excited to be a part of that. I kind of wish I had a Fit, because I think the Fit just as a car in the interior space is a little easier to get around, but the Fiesta has a higher power level, so I don't think I'll have to really worry about not having enough power. I think I'll have to ballast up a little bit, which I would rather be in that position than fighting for horsepower.
Absolutely. And I will say
all 99 or whatever that fits.
Exactly. Now, I will say, you're a tall guy.
Yeah.
When you were talking about it, and then you tilt the seats back and you sleep in it, I was going, that's got to be a
the Fits. So
the Fit would work.
Well, the Fit, because the seats, the front seats push forward in the Fit, and then the rear seats fold flat into the floor, and then you can actually fit a full queen-size mattress in the back of one of those things. They're actually not that different in size to the first-generation Honda Odyssey. The Fiesta, however, in Ford's infinite wisdom, you fold the rear seats down, and they just kind of like the backs just kind of fall onto the seat base, and then there's just a massive hump in the rear seat, and you can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, that would be a bit uncomfortable.
It's not doesn't work great. So, and then anything that you put to like even that area out is just kind of wasted space underneath. So, it's not particularly awesome for that multi-roll thing. But the car was free $99, so
there you go.
Let's roll with it.
Absolutely. Looking there at the 673 is Sam Narrow Street GT Corvette. And yeah, it's interesting running out there with Sunday Cup cars and the like. A beautiful car. And his previous best lap coming in was a 53.1.
So just for context, not too far behind, about 5 seconds off, is one of our fastest Sunday Cup competitors. And it's all about carrying speed in the Fits and the Fiestas and whatever else you've got in that Sunday Cup class. We've got that Ford ZX2 that Lucas Urban is driving. Now, he was at the pointy end early in the weekend. Yeah. As the other drivers have gotten used to the track, he's kind of gotten knocked down the order a little bit.
It's interesting. I've got to believe that for Sam, obviously he's relatively new to this and being a bit careful with that absolutely beautiful car. But man, when he comes out of 14 and out of 6, especially out of 7, and really has the confidence to put the hammer down, you can see that car just gets up and boogies. But I mean, we have RX-8s in this. We have a 350Z, S2000s, a lot of different machinery that gets to run in this class.
Yep. Well, the graphics are back up on the screen. Big thanks to Eric behind the scenes. Obviously, there's a lot of things that can break and go wrong. And,
absolutely.
I'm really happy to have people as capable as those guys in the trailer making sure we have everything on screen. So TrackBattle graphics back up here for Group D. Brad Riemann in street at a 152.333. That is a little bit off of his best, about a second off. Shart in the 205 car. 152.197 is his best, so he's a little off as well. Smitheline, though, a 157.8 for the number 130 car for Jim Smitheline. And 150, what is he, a 57.8? That is a really fast lap for Sunday Cup. Is that a new track record? It looks like it to me. Previous best was a 158.0, so Jim Smitheline, top of the board, 157.887.
That's a great lap. And Cooper going right with him. Cooper also into the 57s as well after having a 58.1 previously. So Cooper joining him in that battle. That's going to be a really, really good run. Close. And then Smith in the number 92 there. Brad Smith in the fit. Not that far off, but he had a 158 flat earlier, so he's a half second off of that time. But you factor in the 158 flat that he had previously. You got a 57.8, a 57.9, and a 58 flat.
Wow, I will tell you one thing. Jim Smitheline is hustling
yes, he
this
is.
car right now. And again, leading the way. If he's got data in this car, he knows that a 57.8 is good enough for the top spot. He doesn't know what everyone else has done just yet, but rolling through turn 14, there's less than a tenth at the top of the board in Sunday Cup. This is for all the beans here as they come across the start-finish line. A couple other drivers shifting and shuffling around, but Smitheline in the white 130. Look at Brad Smith, a 157.890 by 3 1,000ths for the top of the class.
This is so close. And look at Cooper, drops it to a 57.905.
3 cars within, what, 200ths of a second?
That is absurd.
Holy cow, that's awesome.
There's your story, folks. You want to have some close competition for relatively inexpensive money? Hello, Sunday Cup.
Sunday Cup. I mean, this is the closest class we have on the racetrack.
Without a doubt. Yeah, we were talking earlier about a couple of hundreds.
Whoa! Brad Smith getting after it here. Now he's split the difference between Cooper and Jim as they head down towards turn 6. I heard a fit take off, a little tire chirp leap in the pits. Chirp! Off it goes. Oh, man, this is awesome stuff. And again, we're going to have about 12 to 15 minutes here to sort this out. These aren't the final track battle sessions of the weekend. There will be some non-stream tomorrow, but this is going to give us a really good idea of how fast these cars can go and where we're going to leave the podium stuff off tonight. So Smitheline and Smith, 6th and 7th overall, but 1st and 2nd in the Sunday Cup class as it stands. 3,000ths between them now.
Well, and to give you some perspective, the top 10 in this group are all sub 2 minutes. Everybody else is over 2 minutes. Some of them just barely, but over. And 4 of those cars are Sunday Cup cars.
Look at Brad bouncing around a little bit. Rear suspension kind of, well, there's a lot of undulation there. That's something that some drivers are fighting is rear grip because it's bouncing around, and a big correction there through turn number 12 at the left-hander. And we'll see if that hurt him at all. Again, it's all about flowing speed. You have 95 to 100 horsepower to work with. That's all you get, and you have to make use of every last ounce of it.
This is a momentum class because of that. And as I've said a number of times, this is a class, if you, regardless of whether you want to stay in this is just where you want to come and play, that's great. It's going to be a really, really fun class for you to be able to get out there and do that. If you have aspirations of going somewhere else, when you learn in a momentum car, underpowered and everything, that serves you for wherever you race for the rest of the time you race, because you learn what the value of flowing speed, not scrubbing speed, and that pays off no matter what kind of horsepower you're driving.
Yeah, there's a good look at that. Hard Times fit is not a real true Sunday Cup car. That is used to be a pro race car that was driven by Tom O'Gorman. And it's seen several changes over its lifespan, and I've heard some people describe it as a little scary to drive with that short wheelbase and a lot of power that it has. So it doesn't get, the keys don't get tossed to just anybody. This is Brant Verks, by the way, and that is definitely stock suspension.
Yes, you can see it.
And Brant's just out here having the best time ever and getting on the racetrack. Bought this car on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever he did before Alpine Horizon, and man, that thing is struggling, but just having the best time, getting on track and finding the limits.
And, you know, it's interesting when you watch him in those technical tight, corners there, he has it figured out. When you've got a car with that much roll, and obviously it's, probably pretty pushy. So what's he doing? He is braking and then turns aggressively and dips the brake, get that weight on the nose, get that back end to start coming around.
Wow.
Give it a little bit opposite lock and get after it.
Look at that thing. That's so fun to watch.
It's planting weight on those loaded tires nicely, isn't it?
It is. And onto the brakes for turn 3. And again, the banking's going to help here. Not such a flat corner to deal with, but just making this Subaru work as hard as it's ever worked. Tons of roll here. I love the X on the headlight.
Yeah,
there.
See that?
Wow, look at him throw. Look at the sidewall of the tire kind of fold up underneath.
Oh yeah, and that's because he's pitching it, really getting it, and then dips the brake just a little bit, and just gets that back end to swing. See if he does it here as well. Reaches up, adjusts the mirrors because he's got some time.
Oh man!
And there it is.
Touches the brakes, gets the front to rotate, and around he goes up towards turn 6 and 7. And not a lot of power to pull you out.
Yeah, and where you really are going to see what he's, what I'm talking about is in 12 and 13 and, and 11 too. Just the way he uses that weight transfer, all that body roll to just get the weight to plant on the nose and bring the back end around.
Woo, little slide there at the exit of 8.
He's giving it. I love
man.
this.
It's so cool to watch. I mean, and he's not near the pointy end of the class. But
not even close. But I'll tell you, there's probably nobody out there with as big a grin under the helmet. Now watch this right here. Pivot and brake. There it goes.
Look at it. And it's
just
so
amazing.
Fun. Oh, man. Brant's going to love watching this back now and getting a third-person perspective.
Watch it here.
Look at the antenna flapping in the wind.
And right here, there it is.
Turns it in.
A little bit gentler that time. I think you realize that corner, you just want to ease it through now.
Throttle down on exit. So no excuses, Greg. You got a car, you can race at GRIDLIFE.
You bet. You bet. Whatever you own, there is a place to come out and race. I mean, you think about it. We've got radicals running in what's called Super Unlimited, the full sports prototypes. There's a place for you.
Here's Brad Smith hustling through turn 13. Is he on a hot lap or getting set up for one? Either way, he was cooking through turn 10.
Well, all he needs is 4 1/1000ths of a second to take the win here on the weekend. So let's see what he's going to be able to do at this stage.
Across the line for Brad Smith. Is it going to be a pickup? Not that time through. We'll see if he's kicking off a hot lap. But he needs to gain 3 thousandths to take the lead in this class. He's going to have at least one more opportunity to do it.
Feeds it through 1, 2.
Nicely balanced here. And then turn 3 again, just diving in. You see a little bit of touch on the brakes just to help the rear rotate, but otherwise you're not having to slow down all that much. That corner in the McLaren, we were doing 75 mid-turn. This car is probably not that far off. And this was actually a discussion in the Club TR group is the Sunday Cup cars are not that far off minimum speed from some of the much faster classes. They've got Falcon RT 660s on that. Looks like Brad Smith is dropping through the dirt and trying to rotate the car, but the tires are sticky and the cars are light. They have a higher roll center, yes, and not as much tire width, but they don't have a lot of weight to play with. They're 20, 25, 26, 2,700 pounds. So they're just hucking them through and making them stick.
Well, and cars that are designed around aero, like the McLaren, they're deficient in slower corners with mechanical grip because they're designed for the aero to give them grip at speed. So you get these cars that have zero aero, when they're designed.
Boy, keep your foot in it, though. Don't slow down.
Nope, just boot it.
He had a tire on the curb. That's fair game to me.
That's good enough. But these cars actually, sometimes they'll have a little bit better mechanical grip, which in slow corners is what you want.
I'd say so. Chart to the top of the board, a 150.330. And in terms of his best
that's
lap,
a big gain.
Is it?
from a
Wow.
52-1?
It is, so a 2-second gain.
Yeah, that's monstrous.
All right, here comes Brad Smith now. Needs 3 1/1000ths of a second to go to the top of the board. Can he do it this time? Checkered flag is waving. This is his last chance today to do it. Long run to the checkers.
Here it comes.
Check my watch, take a sip of tea. Across the line, Brad Smith. He does not improve.
No.
And so the gap at the end of Saturday is 3 1/1000ths between the top two and 100th from first back to third in Sunday Cup.
That's just insane. And for Brad Riemann, let's give him a little shout out in his street Ford Focus. Previous best at 151.5. He too has improved to a 151.2. So personal best for Riemann. So a good run there. Going to take a look. 673 is Sam Narrow. He had a 53.1 previously, down to a 52.5. So a lot of the people in this class making those improvements, and that's what we talked about. May not be fastest in the class, except for our Sunday Cup guys, but personal improvement, that's what you want to see. But how much? I mean, you can't get any closer for those three cars to be separated by less than a tenth.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here. Track Battle D. We're coming back to you with GridLife Touring Cup Race 4 in just a couple minutes. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back for the final race, the final coverage of GridLife in 2022. We'll see you on the other side of this very short break. Coverage of GridLife Finals is brought to you by Valvoline, the official motor oil of GridLife. Momo, made in Italy since 1964. FCP Euro, every part you buy is guaranteed for life. eBay Motors, let's ride. And Falcon Tires. The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the official tire of Club TR. Green flag flies, and we're racing.
The Hightower pushes Jensen along the exit of turn number 4.
This win, it's
big fly!
It's time to go racing at GridLife Midwest. Hill side by side. O'Gorman around the outside now for the top spot. Tom O'Gorman goes to the lead. 3 wide for the lead.
This is great racing, folks. This is what this series is all about.
39 races and 1 remains in the 2022 championship in GridLife Touring Cup here in Topeka, Kansas. Heartland Motorsports Park hosts the season finale event for GridLife, and the final race of the weekend for GLTC is coming up in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Greg Kramer. Greg, so excited to share this seat alongside you here. Our last race of a 40-race season, 10 rounds coming to a close here in just a couple minutes.
So excited to be here with you at this venue after a rough weather day yesterday. It is postcard beautiful out there right now, and we're determining the championships here with this last race. As you said, a huge season, and it's coming to a close right now.
Well, one of the competitors for second place in the season championship is Andy Smedegard, team owner and leader at ASM, and Cerise Taylor from FCP Euro is standing by in the paddock with Andy.
All right, I'm here with Andy Smedegard, the man behind ASM. Now, you just please explain for the people, how many of your cars are out here today, and how are you feeling now that the lineup has been inverted?
So I think we've got about 6 GLTC cars, plus we've got a couple time attack cars, just some DE stuff. So yeah, it's a full, we brought everything, even Robert's drift car. So the invert's going to be fun. There's nothing more fun than racing your best friends and cars like that I helped build. So I'm super excited about the inverse. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
We've had a lot of crazy action this weekend. You guys are a part of it, so thank you so much for being a part of the community.
Yeah.
Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Cerise, and thanks, Andy. And Andy puts in so much work, and it's important to highlight the people in the paddock that make this all possible. Andy's supporting so many cars here this weekend, and we certainly cannot take away his driving ability. He has just had a phenomenal season alongside his Tom O'Gorman teammate, who has just been unbelievable this season. And as it stands, as we come into this final race, Greg, Robert Thorne is currently leading the weekend standings by 1 point over Tom O'Gorman. So not only do we have a championship to sort out for second between Smedegaard and Swenson, we have the weekend championship for Robert Thorne and Tom O'Gorman to deal with. Erica Till still hangs on to third over Matan Rosenberg by 5 points. There's lots to deal with here, Greg, as we get set for race 4.
Oh, it's absolutely fascinating what we're seeing play out here. And, you take a look at why it's so close. Well, Thorne comes in here. He had a third in the first race, then wins in the next 2, and O'Gorman comes in here with a win in the first race and then 2 seconds. So that 1/3, that's what that little difference is here. Pretty impressive stuff.
Certainly impressive. One of the drivers fighting for second in the championship, the 2021 champion, Jeremy Swenson, is standing by with Cerise.
All right, Jeremy, you have also been a big contributor this year as far as action, adventure, motorsports. Now, as far as you to get back out there and enjoy the race.
There's a lot of things to be positive about. A, I'm still racing. B, I'm with my beautiful wife. C, we're having fun and the car's not damaged. And D, I still get to go race again. So,
it's been so much fun watching you. We wish you the best of luck, okay? Go for third.
thank you.
Thanks, Cerise. And Jeremy has had a phenomenal season. We talked about Andy's great season. Let's talk about Jeremy's great season. He has had one. Average finish of 2.5. Now, I have not yet put in his finish from the previous race, which would maybe drag that average down a little bit. But either way, that average finish is still the best in the series by a large margin. Previously, his worst finish had been 6th on the season. An unbelievable attempt. And whenever Jeremy shows up at the racetrack, sometimes he's got his wife and kids. But when it comes to who's wrenching on the car, most of the time, it's just Jeremy.
And he does an incredible job. I mean, he's got 5 wins on the year, a couple of poles, but here's the stat, and the reason that he is where he is, he has 24 podiums, and he hasn't run every event. So that's just a staggering number, and that's what contributes to that amazing finish record here for average finish.
Yeah, he's essentially run 2 less events than ASM has, and he's only 4 podiums shy of matching Tom and Andy. So really impressive stuff from Jeremy Swenson. So we've heard from all 3 of our top 3 in the championship standings, but I want to go back to the way the points sit as we come into this last race of the weekend. We have to give some shout outs to some other drivers. Matan Rosenberg, 4th in the weekend standings. What an unbelievable drive by young Matan, the 18-year-old.
18 years old, really builds and does most of the work in that car himself. And every race we've seen, he's just consistently quicker. Made this for the, I think for the second time, got into the top 10 shootout. He is just showing some really good form and has been racing from the drop of the first green here this weekend.
So those keen-eyed of you will have noticed that, hey, Tom's not on pole. That's typically what we see. Well, we're in race 4. We do the inversion for this. The inversion was 9. That will put Matt Waldbaum, who, remember, started at the tail of the field in race 3, on pole. Matt has won GLTC victory. It came back at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Guess what? In race 4 after the inversion. So Matt will be battling Jackson Jensen on that front row, Matan Rosenberg, Zach Lavoie, Eric Attil, Austin Hurdle. That's your front 3 rows. Then it's Andy, Tom, Robert, Hans, and Jake, Jeremy, the rest of your top 12. So lots to talk about when we get the green flag rolling here. Now, race 3 is a little messy, Greg. They had a driver's meeting. Everyone's going to clean this up, but we're going to have a nice, clean race to finish out the year.
Well, and that's it. And you could make the argument, well, it's racing. Things are going to happen. But they don't have to, and that's one of the absolutely wonderful things about this series is that race. And there was things that we didn't catch. Obviously, there were a couple of incidents that we saw, but there were multiple passes under yellows and all that kind of stuff. And for this series, that was deemed that was sloppy. And so, instead of just saying, "Come on," wandering through the paddock, they called a driver's meeting and said, this is not what we do here. You know how we race here. Let's clean this up. Let's be a little bit more observant and really pay some attention here. And that clamping down on it, so to speak, is welcomed by the competitors because they love the idea of at the end of the weekend, you roll the car back onto the trailer, and aside from using up some tires, it's in the same shape as you rolled it off. That's the goal. Didn't happen in that last race. And they say, all right, we're done. Clean it up.
It's a lot harder to change culture than it is to start it from scratch.
Yes.
And we've started something here at GridLife, and the goal is to maintain that culture. And you can't let it slip. You got to constantly, it's a constant process. You're always trying to improve it. But for race 4, this is always an exciting one for me. You throw the inversion out there. You put some names that have been kind of lurking around the front but haven't really got a shot at some clear racetrack and a good launch. Jackson Jensen right up towards the front. That's going to be a wild one to watch, battling Matt Waldbaum towards turn 1. Matan Rosenberg starts third. What if he could get his first GLTC win? What an amazing day that would be, Greg.
It would be incredible. And Zach Lavoie has been really on form here. He's having a great run. Qualified 5th in that top 10 shootout. Just an amazing a run here. And for Jackson, remember, that's one of those V8 Corvettes that's got the low-end torque. And at the launch here, it's entirely possible that he could just use that, get around Matt Waldbaum, and then, at that point, it's up to Matt to figure out a way through, and he's going to have, as you said, Matan Rosenberg hustling on him right there, and Lavoie and Eric Coutil and Austin Hurdle, all of these drivers that have been showing some really, really good form here as we're watching some of the drifting going on the other side of the track. I want to point out one little thing here. Matt Waldbaum in that previous race, from where he started to where he finished, remember there's a long caution in the middle of it too, he made up 22 spots. So it's almost, in a way, fitting the inversion favored him a little bit because he's done enough passing.
Well, engines are revving down in the paddock.
Here
we're
we
getting
go.
set. You can hear him from where we're seated. There's Sam Dooling, a hype man over there down in the paddock, throwing his hands in the air. Colton Wade giving high fives to everybody.
And one more guy I just want to credit because it's a special moment when this happens. Hans Horpedal in that number 77, last race. First top 10 in the series.
It's a big day. He was hyped. I got to chat with him, and he was really excited about that. It's been a long weekend.
He should be. It was a great drive.
Yeah, was looking for parts early in the weekend, got the car patched up, and he is back and ready to rumble here. So, predictions, Greg. Do you think Andy, Tom, or Robert can muscle their way to the front at this challenging-to-pass racetrack?
I'll tell you what, I think with the way that Thorne is running right now, I think that BMW has some of that low-end torque. He likes the aero. He's figured out the tires. My opinion would be of that group in the top 9, he would be the one most likely to get to the front. But, I'm going to throw in a dark horse here that I've just been impressed by what I've seen, Austin Hurdle.
Austin Hurdle has just done a great job this weekend. And remember, this wasn't looking likely. He told me after his incident the other day, he had a broken control arm. He said, I think it's done, man.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, I felt really bad for him. And I thought, you know what? You're not done. He's going to get that thing fixed. Yes, he did. And he's back on the racetrack having one of the best weekend of his GLTC career.
And there we go. And he couldn't find even a stock part, let alone the Nismo competition part for that control arm that he normally runs. So he found a local welding and fab shop that said, bring it in, we'll weld it. Hopefully it'll work for you. And he said, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that I'm so delighted to be out racing, but it feels better than it ever has.
So even while ASM is still on pole, the pace car is also an ex-ASM car. Used to be Eric and Megan Kohler's. So that is the car that is leading the way here with the lights on the back of it. Let's roll through our race 4 grid order here as the splitter, Carson Crystal, chooses the lines for the drivers. As here's row number 1, Matt Waldbaum in the number 90 for ASM. Jackson Jensen from G-Speed Maverick rolls off in second on the front row.
Starting third, the 484 of Matan Rosenberg in the MX-5 and Zach Lavoie in the number 42 Honda.
Starting on the inside of row number 3, Eric Coutil, third in points on the weekend. He could finish top 10 in the season. Austin Hurdle, a fantastic weekend. He will start 6th.
In row 4, it's going to be the 212 of Andy Smedegaard in the Honda S2000 and the 94 S2000 of points leader Tom O'Gorman.
Starting on the inside of row 5, 2 race wins this weekend. Third win of the year. Last race starts 9th. Hans Horpedal starts 10th in the 77 from Myriad Motorsports.
In the 6th row, the number 23 of Jake Jornstad in the Honda S2000, joined by last year's champion Jeremy Swenson in the number 30 Corvette.
13th place, Scott Robertson having a career day in the 213. Felipe Gonzalez starts 14th in the number 12.
Moving to row number 8, it's going to be 767 Wes Case in the BMW alongside Jeremy Boyson in the Porsche Cayman, number 40.
Starting in row number 9, it's going to be Vitus Aronowskis in the number 144, starting 17th, alongside Arimas Korosis in the 871 in 18th place.
Moving to row 10, it's Andy Sundin in the 546 BMW M3, joined by Nick Centerford in the Honda S2000, number 87.
Row number 11, starting on the inside, Thomas Moss in that white Mazda MX-5. Jason Saney in the 33 Porsche Cayman starts in 22nd.
Moving to row number 12, it's the 261 of Brad Kusiba in the MX-5 Miata. He'll be joined by Robert Vierhout in the number 95 Nissan on a recovery weekend.
Row 13, Louis Chatroop on the inside in 25th place. Wes Penn starts 26th in the number 113 Miata.
Row 14, the 177 of Justin Lautz in the Mazda Miata. Starting alongside will be David Ruzinski in the number 51 Chevrolet S10 pick-em-up truck.
I love it. Brian Heitman starts 29th in the MX-5 Global car. Savannah Little starts 30th in her MX-5 851 car.
In row 16, the 71 of Joel Morrison and his Honda S2000, joined by Eric Jensen in the Scion FRS. Eric told me that he's done for the weekend. The car's broken, can't get fixed in time.
Brian DeFries and Tony Marchev are going to share row number 17, although I think Brian's car is also done. I think the same is true for a couple of the cars down here towards the tail of the field. Let the last couple rows scroll on through. Well, Greg, it has been a long season. We kicked things off at Circuit of the Americas back in February. We have gone all over the country, down to Atlanta, Georgia, up to Gingerman Raceway, to Autobahn Country Club, to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, Lime Rock Park, all the way out to Colorado Springs and Pikes Peak International Raceway. We bring it all the way back to the center of the country, bring everybody to a track that no one really calls home. Central location, let's race it out one final time.
Everybody seems to love this track, and they have been racing it just that way. And this is it. This is championship time. And, we were talking about who could come through the pack and maybe do this. I don't count out Matt Walbaum and just driving away from this the way he's been running this weekend. Lots that can evolve here.
Here we go. It's championship time. Scores to settle in the points. One final race in 2022. Time to go racing in GLTC. One last time at Heartland Motorsports Park. The House of Speed is home to GLTC. Green flag flies, and we're racing one more time in 2022.
Look at Jensen in that Corvette with that torque. Has a nose ahead now of Walbaum up through Alpha. Down now, heading toward turn one.
Great clean start there as we watch the meat of the field. They're a little bit tight as they come through the first corner. Look at Boysen, West Case, the Myriad cars side by side. Here's Jeremy Swenson picking up a spot on Horpedal. He's got O'Gorman in his sights. Look at Lavoie on the inside of his teammate. Look at second place. That now is Jensen falling into the clutches of Lavoie and Catil. And up front, look at Rosenberg. He's gone to second.
What a start by Matan Rosenberg. The young 18-year-old just read that perfectly. And there's Walbaum, then Rosenberg. And then Jensen dropping back just a little bit. You can see the gap, and he is being hounded by Catil.
Yeah, Catil's trying to find a way around. Look, he's got a stack up behind him. Big cloud of dust out of turn 5. Everyone's stacked up behind the 527. The ASM cars all line astern here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and one camera shot as O'Gorman squeezes around the outside of Lavoie.
Smedegard had already got that done and has moved up as well. So really making an effort here. And Catil now down on Jackson Jensen. Jackson's got the inside for turn number 8. This is tough to go side by side through there. Jensen runs a little wide, and I think those two other ASM cars are coming.
I think they got it. Catil past Jackson Jensen. Here comes Andy to the inside now. This is a huge mess. Look at them. 5 cars on top of each other under a blanket through turn 10.
And look at Thorne coming through. Just got through and got by on Tom O'Gorman as well. But look at the gap up front already. Here's now Smedegard, who's now up to third.
Wow, great pass there on Catil through turn number 11 and 12. Thorne got by Lavoie, now sets his sights on Catil. O'Gorman's back in the mix. Jackson Jensen falling like a stone. They come across the start-finish line. Matt Walbaum leads the way, but look at Matan Rosenberg right behind, battling for the lead.
And the gap now back to Smedegard here. That's going to be really telling, and see how that closes up. Then Catil, and then there's Thorne. And that BMW is working.
Through turn 1 and 2 now, coming over the crest. Thorne is closing quick on the hybrid racing EG. Eric Catil racing one car off at turn 1 and 2. Slows it down. Didn't quite get a look at who that was. Is it Boysen potentially?
Maybe.
Oh, look at this. Here comes Thorne to the outside of Catil.
And Thorne will take it whenever he can get it here, and he's trying. Look at that car stick as Catil back end rotating around. And this is exactly what Thorne wanted. if he can clear him, better still. But even if he stayed put, he'd have the inside into turn 6 and out of turn 6. That's where Thorne owns this track. And look at that move by O'Gorman as Coutil just offline.
Opened the door, but look at Eric, the great run out of turn 6 now. Can he hold station on the outside at 7? He does for now. Drag race down the backstretch. Two buddies that started life racing here in GLTC. Now they continue, but O'Gorman squeezes ahead, opens the door for his teammate Lavoie, side by side through 8.
Ooh, this is going to be interesting here, and he's got the overlap, so Coutil
Woohoo, that's tight.
thinks of coming across somebody else off. That's Jackson Jensen, I think.
Yeah, big off there at turn number 9. He keeps the wheel straight, ends up on the other side just fine and dandy. But look at this. Coutil now under fire from Lavoie, and here comes Swenson into the mix, and Austin Hurdle throw him in the pot too.
We heard that interview at the start of this from Cerise where Swenson said, hey, what do I have not to be happy about? I'm racing.
Here he is. He's racing all right. This is a battle for about 5th or 6th place now. Coutil, look at the crossover here, but he's going to throttle up and go to the outside. Look at that move to the outside. Here comes Swenson, 3 abreast.
Swenson read that perfectly, squared up underneath, put that V8 grunt in the low end here to good use. I don't know if he's going to get Coutil, but he certainly has made that pass, and Hurdle has also gone around Lavoie.
Wow.
And here comes Swenson.
Passed and through into 7th, 6th place, make it as they come down through turn number 1 and 2. Fantastic racing inside the top 10. Horpedal hangs on to a 10th place in that 77. They've got that car dialed in.
And here, but check this out. Waldbaum, 2.5 seconds clear of Rosenberg, and another 2.5 seconds back to Smedegaard in the gang. Rosenberg is driving the race of his young career.
If he could finish second, it would be his best finish in his career. Hurdle hounding the back of Coutil. That car has definitely got blood in the water, and Hurdle is coming and coming fast.
This is fascinating to watch here. Now, let's see. Thorne, about a second adrift to Smedegaard, and now that he's been able to set sail here, this is one of the best battles on the track at this stage. Hurdle coming up on Coutil.
Look at the size difference. Over 1,000 pounds between these cars. This is the magic of this series. You can't do this anywhere else. Coutil in a car that is 2 decades older than the car behind him and 1,000 pounds lighter. But this time, I think the V6, the VQ engine in Hurdle's car is closing this gap pretty quick.
Yeah, it's just power when you get into these racy situations here. That little bit of extra grunt can really help you. Coutil's car, is all about flowing speed, and Hurdle behind him. That car's got a little bit of power, and look at this. Zach Lavoie now has sort of adjusted things and is closing right back in on him.
Bringing Horpedal into the mix, too. Could he go a little bit quicker? This time through, look at Smedegaard. He's within 2/10 of Rosenberg. Battle for second as they head towards turn 1. There it is. Here comes Smedegaard to the inside of young Matan. Drag race through the first 2 corners. Matan hangs on but has to bail. And look at Smedegaard squeeze through to 2nd place.
Yeah, that was that was a message, I think, a little bit. And that just messed up the momentum that Rosenberg had. And now Thorne has gone through as well. And here comes O'Gorman on the back of the young man.
Headlights popping on the 94 as he dives to the inside. They fought at Gingerman. They're going to fight here again to the inside at turn 5. O'Gorman clears Rosenberg and heads into 4th.
Well, this is going to be interesting. Waldbaum is way down the road now. And then you've got Smedegaard with Thorne not too far back and O'Gorman. Again, it's cooler now than it was in the earlier race. And some of the cars, the rears on these S2000s were struggling a little bit. They made a tire pressure change, and it's a little bit cooler now. It's going to be interesting to see just what's clicking.
Shiny new wheels glinting in the sunset here on O'Gorman's car. But Waldbaum is 4 seconds clear. Is that Smedegaard off course? And Robert Thorne is going to smell that blood in the water and go for a dive here maybe into turn 10.
Yeah, he's going to pounce, and Smedegaard will be protecting the inside just a little bit. And so we'll see what happens here as we're watching Coutil, and behind him is Lavoie. There is Hurdle. But the big question is, what's up with Smedegaard up front? Did Thorne get him?
And Horpedal still hanging tough. Look at this. Look at the battle back here between, I think this is one of the myriad cars. This is going to be Jornstad fighting Jackson Jensen. What a great fight these two have had.
Yeah, Jensen had that off, but boy, he's just gritted his teeth.
Woo,
and
he's off in the grass again at turn 13. Wow.
He's giving her, no question about that.
Oh, great catch by Jornstad. Throttled up and almost looped the car.
And look at the run he gets because Jensen had to slow down a little bit not to hit him, lost his momentum. And Jornstad with that near spin still right up alongside on the exit here. And Thorne did get through on Smedegaard.
Felipe Gonzalez watching his teammate battle the 527 up the road. Look, the battle's even happening deeper in the field. Here's O'Gorman now closing on Andy for, looks like, third place. Again, with Swenson falling down the order, I'm not sure that Swenson really has a legitimate shot at second in the championship, but you got to keep fighting. You have to fight all the way to the checker.
Absolutely. You just push. No question. But look at this. Second, third, and fourth covered by the proverbial blanket here. All ASM cars. Well, first through fourth right now is all ASM. 3 of them are S2000s. The other one is that interloper, that Bimmer.
Yeah, Waldbaum looking in the mirror, and he is cheering on Smedegaard and O'Gorman to keep Thorne busy. You don't want to give Robert clear racetrack to allow him to run him back down, but there's the gap now. It's about 25, 30 car lengths as O'Gorman skids through the dirt there, trying to make up some ground. Wow, look, is that Rosenberg?
It is.
Dropping a spot there to, who would that be? Is that?
I think that's Lavoie.
Yeah, maybe. Down into turn number 10.
Or maybe that was Swenson.
Oh, yeah, it was Swenson.
Yep.
Wow, he just made that a decisive blow there.
He did.
Drove right through.
Well, he's fighting for that second in the championship, and, you can't just, sort of loll about, can you? You've got to make those passes. Always done with that respect and the like. You don't just dive bomb somebody, but, if there's a clean, clear opening, you're going to go for it. And Zach Lavoie fighting back on Coutil here. Big time. Here's the battle for 8th.
Here they come. The gap is closing up front. 3 minutes to go as they come across the start-finish line. Lavoie sizing up Coutil here for this battle. EG Civic versus a Honda S2000. Hans Horpedal, he wants to get into this fight so bad. He's just about 15, 20 car lengths back, and he can taste it. He just needs to get a little bit more ground.
Give you a little bit of perspective on that last lap. Waldbaum turned a 144 flat, but Thorne a 143.3, Smedegaard a 43.7, O'Gorman a 43.2. So they are quicker right now than Waldbaum. But Matt also knows he's got a big lead. He can afford to give up a couple of tenths here and there and still be in good shape. And if he does that, if these guys get closer to him, he might have better tires because he preserved them a little bit and might be able to drive away at the end. It's all strategy.
The clock is his friend. It's going to be the longest 2 minutes and 16 seconds for
Exactly.
Waldbaum, the shortest for Thorne. Still battling ASM cars 1 through 4. Swenson back up into 5th. What a climb he has had today. Didn't get the advantage of the invert like Waldbaum did, but still has a very impressive climb that he has to be proud of.
Up into the top 5, and I mean, he's 5 seconds back of O'Gorman and Smedegaard. But that's going to make that final spot for second in the points even closer. It's going to be fascinating to see that. And let's make a note here. Waldbaum, this is his first season racing.
First season racing and winning races, finishing top 5. Here is another look at Jake Jornstad. They've got this sorted out. Has he dropped the order down a little bit? Can't tell. No, he's got Felipe Gonzalez right behind him still, so that battle continues. They are a little bit behind Jackson Jensen, but now it's teammate on teammate. They had a little bump and rub in the previous race. Just nose to tail.
Look at this, man. I mean, Smedegaard is not letting Thorne get away. And interestingly, they've both dropped Tomo just a little bit here. He's dropped off by about 7/10 of a second. There he is. But boy, does he make up ground going into 3. He talked about, I love turn 3.
Whoa, trouble. That's Andy Sundin. The 546 car went for a loop. And he's got it back rolling again. Don't see any contact on the left rear, so might have just looped it around there, Greg.
I think so. Just got a quick spin and continue. He sullied it, as we'll call it, a spin and continue. But, O'Gorman just makes up so much ground in 3. He loves that turn. And within short order, he has closed right back up. And I think some of that is going to be Thorne running a little bit slower. Yeah, he ran a 43.3, Smedegaard a 43.1. And so Smedegaard's finding speed here late.
He is finding speed. He's hassling the back of the 180. They're still all collectively making ground on Waldbaum. I'd have to expect the white flag any moment, though. So as long as Waldbaum has a lead that's 2-3 seconds, I think he's pretty safe. But that doesn't mean he couldn't make a mistake. It's not over till it's over here in GLTC.
Yeah, he's just really got to focus here because these guys behind him, these are all really experienced drivers. And as we said, Matt, in his first year of racing anything. He's done a lot of gaming, but first year racing anything. And let's see what's going to happen here when they come through. Are we going to see no flag or a white flag at this point? And there you can see that's where Thorne gets into those traction situations out of 14 out of 6, and he pulls a little gap. White flag this time.
One more time around. This time across the line, did they gain? Yeah, 2 3/10 on Matt Waldbaum here. But Thorne's busy holding off 2 other teammates behind him. Swenson trying to close the gap. He gained 3 seconds on the leader that last time around.
And here's the thing, is Tomo going to make the pass on Smedegaard? And the reason I ask is Tomo, where he is now, he's going to clinch this championship, I think. Smedegaard, if Tomo passes him and takes those points, does that give Swenson a shot at second in the championship? This is kind of interesting.
Yeah, Tom, he is a very competitive racer. I'd have to think he's thinking about Andy's scenario, but I also don't know if he's willing to back down. I think he's going to try, if he can, here in these closing moments of the 2022 GridLife Touring Cup season. He has won 20 races this year, most recently this morning, and he's coming back around to pick up his first championship trophy this time through. Waldbaum, though, leads the way on the backside of the course.
Yeah, O'Gorman, 20 wins, 30 podiums, 22 poles. That's a season of a lifetime, and he strung it together. But for Matt Waldbaum, ending his first season of racing, if he can hang on now for what, 4 more corners, it's all here. There he goes, coming into 10, flicking it into 11, 2 corners to go.
For Matt Waldbaum, his first race victory came just a couple of months ago at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course on a race 4 inversion.
Yep.
He rolls through turn 13. He rolls through turn 14. For Matt Waldbaum, this is going to be a second race victory in GridLife Touring Cup. Such a competitive series, such a great driver, such a great car. Matt Waldbaum picks up the victory, but for the first time in his career, GridLife champion Tom O'Gorman is national champion in Touring Cup in 2022. Congratulations, Tom O'Gorman gets it done, beats an incredible field of racers all season long. O'Gorman is your champion.
And look at that, Jeremy pulls up alongside, giving them high fives and thumbs up to those guys. He raced it so well, so hard this year, and just another great race. That's 2 in a row. He's, like Waldbaum, has had to come from deeper in the pack.
Yeah, Matt Waldbaum victorious here at Heartland Motorsports Park. Robert Thorne second, Smedegaard third. Now, the way we think things are going to pan out, Smedegaard should finish second in the championship based on the last 2 race results from Swenson, putting him down the order here in the weekend. But again, we've got the award ceremony coming up where we got to wait for all the investigations to pull through and dynos and all that stuff. But Tom O'Gorman, your 2022 GridLife Touring Cup champion after 40 races this season. They ran every one. 20 wins in 40 races.
That's just an incredible stat. It speaks very highly. Now, here's the interesting thing. Of that top group, it is only Thorne on this weekend who has finished on the podium in all 4 races. You know, Tomo had a win 2 seconds, but now a 4th. Thorne, a 3rd, 2 wins, and a 2nd.
That should take him the weekend trophy for Robert Thorne, which, if I recall, I'm not actually sure if he's done that before this weekend. Robert Thorne, yes, he did back at Midwest Festival. He had 3 thirds and a 1st, which won him the victory. And here's a look, the ASM team getting together for a 4 abreast photo on the back straightaway. Really neat stuff, flying formation. But for Tom O'Gorman, let's talk about his career, Greg. Pro racer, racing IMSA, World Challenge, won races and championships, lost his ride because of the financial situation.
Yep.
Comes over to GridLife Touring Cup in a self-purchased car in 2020 as he celebrates here. Struggled, had problems, had issues, couldn't get reliability, struggled with the handling of his car, went to Andy Smedegaard Motorsports ASM, and now he is champion of GridLife Touring Cup.
It's been absolutely wonderful, to have that lull in a career, and that should never have happened. I mean, his talent is extraordinary, and it's just an unfortunate thing in this era. You don't have massive personal wealth sometimes. It doesn't work. And you know what? Who knew that there was a bakery here over in turn 14? Because there's donuts out there galore.
Oh, man. Tom is celebrating. I'm not sure if it's really sunk in yet what he has done. This is the hardest championship to win, I think, in grassroots racing. We have not had a repeat champion. Eric Cattell, Jeremy Swenson, and now Tom O'Gorman in 2022. So it is a hard thing to do, to go out there every week, and especially at ASM, being up front all the time, being under a microscope all the time from every other competitor. You can't misstep, Greg, and Tom did not.
Nope, and you take a look prior to this season, we've had guys that have had good runs in seasons and got championships, but this is just one of those once-in-a-lifetime seasons of downright dominance, and he put it together.
With our race winner, Matt Waldbaum, Cerise Taylor from FC Puro is on pit lane with him.
All right, now, Matt, you had a full-on Forrest Gump moment out there where you ran away from the whole pack. How are you feeling right now? What do you think was your advantage here?
A little bit of luck on the invert. We had an unfortunate race 2 where we had a part break on the car. So we were charging back to the field in race 3 and got a little luck out of the invert. And then where we were positioned, just heads down from pole position, just keep pounding in laps. I was watching the dash. All the laps are coming in within a few tenths of each other. Just don't make mistakes and slowly watch the guys come up behind. But it was a ton of fun.
This whole weekend, the driving has been phenomenal to watch, so thank you for being a part of that. Great job out there.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Cerise. And Matt Walbaum, his second victory, both off of race 4 inversions. Let's have a look at our race results and have it up on the screen again here. Have a look at your results for race 4. Robert Thorne, Andy Smedegaard, Tom O'Gorman, Jeremy Swenson, again, quietly in the mix all season long.
Always. He's always there, and always with a smile, too. Then Matan Rosenberg, I mean, this is a kid who's 18 years old, did that work on the car pretty much himself, and has come through with a strong finish to this season.
Great running there. Jackson Jensen, Jake Jornstad, 11th, 12th. They had a great fight there. Felipe Gonzalez. By the way, another top 10 for Hans Horpedal. Another fantastic race. He's got that car starting to get really dialed in.
It's really hooked up. There's no question. And this is the worst finish we've seen from Tony Marchev in his first ever event racing. He has done a great job. Robert Vierhout didn't even get to run the first race and pops it up into the top 25. And nice to see Savannah Little, damage to that car. They got it running again. And again, Fiona Liu doing a nice job as well. So, just some really good stuff.
So, Greg, race 3 earlier today was not the best example of GridLife Touring Cup racing. This race, I think, was one of the best examples of GridLife Touring Cup racing. And all it takes is a little bit of effort to maintain the expectations. After race 3, all the drivers got sat down and said, that's not how we do things. Yep. Race 4, they went out there and had an incredible battle all the way through the field. Every driver finished that race. Every driver will roll their car back onto the hauler tonight.
Well, and I think maybe the defining moment of that, and it applied to the whole race, but this really showcased it. And I don't remember who the driver was that had the off out of turn 5 and was heading up and was going to, could have just barged back onto the track in 6. One, that car was very, very careful about when it came on, and everybody coming into that turn, when they realized it, opened up a lane and let him come back on cleanly. That's what GridLife is all about. Respect for your competitors. Race hard, but race clean.
I'm hoping we can try to track down Tomo also, because he kind of skipped the pit lane there to do the burnouts. We're trying to track him down. We're trying not to leave without talking to our 2022 champion. I still got helmet hair here. We'll track him down. I think I got Cerise trying to run him down at the moment. So We'll stay tuned just for the time. We're gonna stick around for just a couple minutes, debrief, talk about the season and the weekend as a whole. We talked about ASM. We've talked about Jeremy Swenson, but Matan Rosenberg, what an amazing event. I know he dropped down the order a little bit there towards the end, but again, that car, it's not quite prepped to the same level as those ASM cars. He got run down, but man, he was in the mix for a long time.
Well, I mean, he was right up there, and what really shuffled him back a little bit, as you said, it's not quite as prepped as some of the others, and when he got pinched that one time by Smedegaard and lost that momentum, I mean, that really, 2 more cars went by him, and that's what started his little plummet, a mini plummet, if you will. But, for a kid who's 18, worked on that car, built it up himself, to have this kind of a finish to the season, I think it's spectacular, and it really shows he can drive. And when he gets that car prepped to the nth degree, like it should be here, watch out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of drivers, I think, that had a season weekend this weekend. Mm-hmm. Scott Robertson is another. And Eric Catil, I want to talk about him a little bit. Eric Catil crashed last season in the season finale, the last race of the year, lost the championship, built a brand new car in half of this season to put it back on track at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. He goes on, runs 3 rounds, and depending on how things sort, he might be in the top 10 in season points. Out of 120 competitors that we've had this year, that is incredible.
Well, that's fair evidence, isn't it, of why he was the 2020 champion. He's that good, and you can see that drive, that determination, that focus when he showed up and kept tweaking on the car, developed a lot of it while he was racing. That's not easy to do, but kept his eye on it and was driving the wheels off that thing. And, of course, that's going to give him a lot of information and data to do the little tweaks he needs for next year.
Certainly. So, again, Catil, I think after Mid-Ohio was like, I'm not sure if this was the right build. After Lime Rock, was really excited about it. Came here, talked to him in the paddock. I'm not really sure about it. He still put on a great show, hustling a car, a very unique build, which is in the rules, by the way. You're supposed to build a cool car. and he built a cool car. That's the rule. You have to.
Has to be a cool car. Well, I like that.
mandatory
And there's
here.
plenty of them in here.
Oh, yeah.
And, another guy that I think we need to shout about a little bit here is Austin Hurdle.
Yeah, of course.
Just a phenomenal weekend for him. Had that damage, welded, it ended up, couldn't find replacement parts. They welded it up and went out. And, one, he had the confidence to just go after it and say, we'll see if the fix takes. It took. He drove it phenomenally this weekend. Yeah, I mean, there were some drivers here this latter part of the season, and here certainly, that have delivered some messages about watch out for next year.
What's coming in 2023? You'll have to wait a little longer to get details on the schedule and any possible potential rule changes coming up for next season. We're still trying to track down Tomo. I think he's really excited and probably got called to impound, so we're trying to figure that out in a couple minutes here. The goal also is to stream the award ceremony at the bottom of the hour at 7:30. So,
well, and one of the things you said was the only way that's going to happen is if we have a clean race.
Well,
guess what we had?
We had a pretty clean race. Now, Renee is going to be busy trying to make sure that everyone isn't going to come to her with things to look at and that sort of thing. But hopefully, at least we can crown our champion and our second and third place finishers on the year, as well as a couple of the track battle classes. So stay tuned for that. I also want to extend, while we've got a moment here while we're waiting to see if we can get a hold of Tomo, extend a bunch of thank yous to a bunch of people. Greg, first of all, thanks for being here this season.
Thanks for having me.
I wish we could have you more, and it was our fault, so we're going to bring you back more next year.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to thank is Adam and Chris, the co-founders of GRIDLIFE. What a phenomenal thing they have built. I don't think the intention when they started GRIDLIFE was to build the nation's most competitive and wildest to watch series, but they have done it. So they deserve a lot of credit for all
Well,
this.
from concept to execution, it's been superb. The festival concept, the whole idea here, and then you add in Adam Jabay's rule set, particularly for this series, is just extraordinary. And look at the racings it's produced.
All right.
Show the people a little bit of the action. Oh, backflip. All right, let's do it. All right, Tom, I am so happy for you. You have had an incredible season. I can see the emotion in your face. Now, as far as the people at home, what do you want them to know? I'm going to get emotional. What do you want them to know about GRIDLIFE?
It's kind of the motorsports people I never knew I needed or didn't have until I found it a little bit. People who look like me and think like me and accept everybody. And I get to race a rainbow race car on a racetrack and everyone cheers for me, I think I've been in motorsports for 15 years and this paddock kept me and this is where I compete. So, that says a lot.
Hug you. Thank you so much for your amazing teamwork and your just sportsmanship this year has been incredible. So, guys, you're champion.
Man, don't put the camera back on me. I can't do it right now.
Yeah,
Tom, congratulations.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I announced him to his early championships in World Challenge, saw him go to IMSA, and all he did was perform. And then, as you said, because of financing and the like, lost the ride. And to hear and see his enthusiasm for GRIDLIFE over the last couple of years, now to be here and watch it happen, it's powerful. There's no other way to put it. And I think it all just came out this year with this dominating season, and he needed that so much.
He did, and everyone hugging in the paddock here, and his teammates and drivers that are not his teammates. And Tom's story is so much deeper than a lot of people know. So.
It truly is.
Yeah. So with that, another big thank you also to the stream team this season, Matt, Eric, the entire camera crew, all the people that worked on the graphics this year, MyPed, who's not here this weekend, all the graphics that got put together this year, all the production. This is so much bigger than people realize. Takes so much effort, time, energy, and it was, at times it can be frustrating with how big the scale of this. We're trying to hold up this huge thing, and they put it together.
Well, and let's be, really clear on something. One, I also want to give a shout out to the drone flyers because what they do is just, off the hook. It's amazing. But a lot of what Kyle was just talking about with the graphics package, yes, our stream team executed it and they put it together. But Kyle, a lot of this was your creation, your idea, you're doing, and the level of this stream in its presentation right now, you are punching so far above your weight here. It's really been extraordinary, and I mean, you deserve some monster kudos as well. Well done. I mean, you've taken this to a new level.
It really feels good to be a part of something bigger than me. So I really appreciate everybody in the trailer and all the time and effort they put in. Again, there's going to be more next year, 6 more next year. So great way to end the season. We're not done streaming just yet on Twitch and Facebook. You can hang around for a little while. On YouTube, this stream's going to go down. There is another link for the award ceremony. We'll see you on the other side. Huge thanks to everybody involved, all the partners and people that make this possible. We'll see you on the other side for the awards. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Kyle Heyer with Greg Creamer, and we'll see you in 2023. Coverage of Grid Life Finals is brought to you by Valvoline, the official motor oil of Grid Life. Momo, made in Italy since 1964. FCP Euro, every part you buy is guaranteed for life. eBay Motors, let's ride. And Falcon Tires, the Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR.
The more power you have, the more grip you have, the more you push the limits, the more stopping power you need. Get race-proven technology. Hawk Performance.
Hey, we still on this weekend for a little?
You know it. I'm in desperate need of some.
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting the wedding. She's getting married, so.
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
Who don't settle when others do. For those who are set free by performance and believe innovation can take you anywhere.
Ed Vance here, and I'm at my favorite place again.
Sorry, did you say your name is Ed Vance?
That's me.
Like advance?
Crazy, right? And it just so happens he knows everything in advance.
Oh, you know the future? Did you know I needed 10W30?
No. I just know everything here in Advance Auto Parts, like where the 10W30 is.
So you don't know what I'll do next?
Actually, I do. You will be going to the oil aisle.
He's good.
He's Advance.
I spent a lot of time here.
He's here a lot.
This is how we advance.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. and we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenis RT660.